Hi, I'm OKJ, and in 4 months I'm taking my Chinese O-level exams for the very first time. Increasingly, this series is becoming more bilingual, and that means more challenging for me as well. So today, I'm here at NTU to meet Dr. Sun He. She's a senior education research scientist that specializes in early childhood development, particularly in bilingualism education. I have so many questions to ask her on the topic, and this is also a great opportunity to practice Mandarin with her as well. I'm very curious about your journey as a researcher, particularly from early childhood, because that seems to be a very niche interest. How do you go about in terms of, I want to dedicate my life to early childhood development in language?
I realized there's a very interesting phenomenon that is, we have a lot of parents who are enthusiastic about pushing their kids to English classroom in China. However, we have very little knowledge about what kind of instruction will be very useful for these young learners. We don't know the effects. When I did my data collection back then, I went to a private English institute, and there is a cleaner in that school. I asked her, why did you choose this place to work in? She said, I couldn't afford this high tuition fee for my son. But if I work here, the boss can give me a percent discount. So I was deeply touched, but I also have some concerns. Did she sacrifice, for a good reason? So it means that, does her son really learn enough? Who knows how much they can gain from such exposure? I think that is something I want to look into, to at least to show, prove or disprove the effects.
Based on what you've just said, I'm going to go through some of my questions, but let me try to ask some of them in Chinese because it also pertains to your life. 可是如果我说错词还是拼音错的话，你也是可以帮我修改一下，那这样我也是可以学。
Okay.
当你小的时候，你是在大连24中学，
对，
你在那时候就毕业了，去考 Bachelor of English。
对，
为什么你会选这个 Bachelor of English 呢？
是我其实对语言一直比较感兴趣，尤其对英语，因为我觉得其实语言它是自成一套规律，然后它是一个很美的事物对我来说，而且更有意思的是人们是怎么习得它的，然后又和心理学产生了很多的关联，对我来说是一个非常非常有意思的事情，然后值得我去追求。
好吧，那我们就接下来就讲新加坡的事，是发生什么事呢？让你来到我们这岛生活、研究我们新加坡的学习语言的环境。
我觉得新加坡是一个非常有趣的地方，因为它对我来说是非常有魅力的一个地方。因为新加坡其实是给了母语和英语同样的一个官方地位，所以我觉得这非常难得。那我就很好奇说，我们是怎么办到的呢？然后又怎么样可以使我们的两种语言同时发展得很好呢？尤其是在孩子很小的阶段。
那我就很好奇，新加坡为什么会到现在的情况呢？因为从几十年前就是希望整个国家是可以用双语的可是最后他们也是承认，新加坡人觉得想要学双语会有一点小难度。这有没有跟你开始的对新加坡的想象有什么分别吗？
有，但是这个印象非常模糊，因为本身我是做individual differences 研究的，这是一个有巨大人和人之间差异的那么一个课题，因为决定你学习一种语言好不好，不光是说环境，然后还有一个我们叫 language aptitude，
对，
然后这样的，那么你的记忆力好不好？那么你的分析能力强不强？它可能都会对你这样最终掌握这门语言的速度有一定影响。但是针对 language aptitude 这块的研究，往往是针对成人，就是非常小的孩子，其实这个话题还是不成熟的。但是一个社会当出现了一种整体的语言迁移，那可能是这个社会整个对的一种语言的态度呀，或者一种认识呀，那这个可能会最终会影响整个群体的这样的一个语言的使用。新加坡就像我说的，这个非常复杂，不同的家庭还是要 分门别类的看，对，这个非常复杂。
那在我们新加坡的环境这个我要用英语了，不好意思。Are there tensions when it comes to language learning? Because it feels like at times it is a zero-sum game. We can make the environment to be more conducive to teach your mother tongue. But if we do that, you have less time for English because you only have that amount of time of school per week. Has that been a tension or pressure when it comes to trying to apply the research findings you have into practical solutions in schools and education?
我认为其实是这种所谓的 tension 是人们臆想出来的。
哦，
就是其实我们在无数个例子里边都可以看到，一个小孩子他不单说可以学习2种语言，如果你给他的环境或者是他足够有兴趣，他可以学若干种语言。那么问题是我们总是觉得时间是有限的，你拿走一部分，另一部分就剩得很少。其实是没有一个更好的规划，往往是如果你只是为了说让他不输在起跑线上，然后我就在家里再拼命的跟他说英语，其实最后对他到底有多大效果，有可能很好，也有很多的时候发现其实作用没那么大，是因为他在学校里接触的量足够多，他在环境里面接触的人足够多。你可以看到，其实我在文章里都会反复提到，就是质和量两手都要抓，就这个意思。
可是从你讲的，我们是在退步，是因为我们自己的可能想法想错了吗？
我不认为是属于说退步，因为语言其实是一个水滴石穿的一个过程，语言是在随着社会的一个变化而不断变化的，一个语言的社会地位是人们赋予它的，所以如果你的教育、你的工作在这样两种重要的环境中，主要的语言都是英语的话，那么人们自然而然的就会更频繁的去使用他们的英语，然后把他们的母语可能就落下来了。这个我觉得环境是一个有非常重要的一个塑造性作用。
I'm going to try and use English to sum up what you just shared with me. Then you can tell me what it's right.
Okay.
So we have to acknowledge that the environment at home is a crucial component on whether people can learn languages or not, especially when they are young.
Yeah, I think it's not about capacity. It's about
Opportunity.
It's about their proficiency.
Then the next one is that learning different languages is not a zero-sum game because we have a lot more capacity than we give ourselves credit for.
Totally, I agree. I think I want to make up one point. That is actually between languages, there is some influence. If for example, I acquire certain vocabulary in Chinese, actually I will transfer certain concepts to English when I pick up a new language, which means that, don't think it's a 0-1. Actually, it's something in between. So if you are really good at one language, it will help you to learn another language much faster.
我在想的是，你的动力有没有什么改变吗？从你刚开始这个整个 journey，
我觉得没有太大变化。我始终是觉得这个领域是一个非常有魅力，而且很有社会意义的这么一个话题。我认为，如果我的工作可以稍微改变大家一点点的想法，一点点的做法，对我来说都是一个非常非常大的回馈。所以我始终都觉得，这个话题是值得我投入很多精力和时间的。